right back, Charlie.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on. You always just got red light. Defenders have been given like. Are we live? Of course we're live. People deluded, I'm back again. Hope you all had a great weekend, and I hope Monday is great for us Arsenal fans in particular, and to you lot listening. Now, obviously, we've got, a couple of days until we play the North London Derby, people, but it's Derby week. It's the most important fixture in Tottenham's calendar, not us, because our thing is very different. But yeah, it's probably the only rivalry I feel in the current day that actually lives up to expectation, people. So yeah, big up yourselves, whether you're on Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube. Smash the like button, join the discussions and whatnot. Again, allegedly Eze and Isak are targets for 2025. I'm not sure many Arsenal fans, including myself, are really interested in transfer news, because at January the earliest is when you could even begin to fathom signing one of those players, which, as we know, the dynamics are very different. Fabio Vieira's apparently spoken about, how he felt at Arsenal and what led to his loan, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces. But it's Derby week, man, and you never want to lose to them lot, especially after the, just before, better yet, the international break. Of course, it was a bit of a sour mood, because whether it was the referee or not, we obviously dropped points. Want to get back to winning ways against Spurs. The Champions League is going to start to come into it, and we definitely can't look beyond what's directly in front of us. But as you know, we've got a big game against City. Big up you lot in the comments, man. Big up DG, I'm back. I gave myself a break. Hopefully your break has returned you in fresh stead, man, and you can do your thing. Big up DG. Don't know what Arsenal are going to do in midfield, but I think it's time for Naweri proper debut, or just play Zinni in the 8. I mean, if you're good enough, you're old enough, innit? And in theory, there's never a great time to blood any young player, really. There's never a great time. There's never ideal scenarios. Yes, there could be a low-level cup game and things like that. Ethan's there technically. You're in the first team. Now, I don't know if you've officially been promoted, but you've been on the bench. You're there. Technically, I have no worries. Tactically, of course, he needs to get up to speed. He's just been exposed to that. It's a big game to throw someone in, and it's going to be very intense. We've got to remember, it's one thing to talk about him growing physically, because we've got to remember he's 17 years of age. He's not in his proper man's body yet. It's a rough game. I would love to batter Spurs. You come on and make your debuts. I understand what you're saying about Zinni in the middle. Personally, it has to be an option, really and truly, but Zinchenko goes to sleep in these sort of games at fullback, much less obviously in the middle of the park. To be fair to Zinchenko, though, there's been numerous games in an Arsenal shirt he's actually stood up tall in big games. Again, we know there's issues, so it's an option. I probably wouldn't want to see that myself. Smash the like button, people. But there's a lot of options. Do you put, and again, you move, you've got one hole in your squad. You move, obviously, if you move Havertz away from up front, then you're putting more holes. But Kai Havertz has got to be an option. Jorginho undoubtedly has to be an option. Zinchenko, as you said, it's a bit of a left field choice, but I don't know. Maybe Mikel Arteta is flirting with someone like Timber. People on social media are even saying throw Calafiori into the mix, who obviously picked up a knock of sorts in Italy's win against France and has subsequently returned to, I believe, London Coley, man. So it'd be an issue for me. I would put Kai Havertz there. Now, again, that has ramifications. Kai Havertz is one of the first names on the team sheet. He gives us a lot in that false nine, up front position, whatever you want to call it, dropping into midfield. He's obviously been scoring goals. For me, I don't really want to see Kai Havertz in midfield, but for a game, I personally feel that's the best option. Now, again, there's other things we can do. And again, if Kai doesn't play, even if Kai plays up front, he's going to drop into midfield. For me, for that game, put Kai in midfield. Kai, Declan Rice, Odegaard. It's not pretty. I don't want to see it, but it's one game, a bit like what Shax is saying here. Just run it for a sec, man. Just run it. Again, in the Champions League and against Manchester City, we get back to normal. My first option would be Jorginho, but one of you actually made the comment and it stuck with me. It's like, when have you seen Thomas Partey and Jorginho really work? It's more been Jorginho and Declan Rice, which, as you lot know, he's irrelevant for the North London Derby because he's not there. So I probably would go to Kai Havertz, but then it leads to who plays up front. If Gabriel Jesus is fit, and there's some rumours he might, again, whether you're able to play 90 minutes or not, do you go with Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli and Saka? Do you give Raheem Sterling his debut either off the left or up front? Does Trossard go in the false 9 position? I'm not sure. Me personally, though, in theory, I would love to see for that game Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, and Raheem Sterling, just because you look at how Spurs are very naive defensively. Set pieces is cash money. We need to be taking advantage there. But they play a high line. Now, they've obviously got good defenders and quick players. But really and truly, did them defenders want to get in a foot race with Raheem Sterling, Bukayo Saka, indirectly Kai Havertz, whose movement is very great off the ball? It don't make sense. So they'll be playing with fire. So yeah, man, it's a difficult one, really. I think only defensively can you answer the questions. We know we'll see Saliba, Gabriel, Benjamin White, and David Raya. I reckon Timber starts. I would love to see Calafiori play some moment in there. Of course, you're going to see Odegaard in midfield. You're probably going to see Thomas Partey, provided he's able to stay fit. And then it's who goes in that left 8. Do you tweak things with Jorginho once again? Do you go with Kai Havertz in there? Do you try Timber or Zinni or something a bit left? Speaking of left, it's not because of ability, it's more because of age. Do you throw Ethan in there? I'm not sure, man. I really think Miles Lewis-Skelly would make a good 8. He's more physical and has more pace than Zinni. Don't know about creativity, though. It's true, but again, these are young boys, you know, and again, off the ball is the most important thing. Yet on the ball, technically, they can hang in that Arsenal team. It's off the ball. Now, granted, more seasoned pros make mistakes. And to be honest, the flip side of that is sometimes these young players, not that they won't get nervous or they don't understand the magnitude of the game, but they could be naive. If you're young Lewis-Skelly or Ethan, they might be in a positive way so naive. They're thinking, right, I'm making my debut. I'm playing for Arsenal. This is what I've been working with. That might be a boost, really and truly. It's a bit different, but we did see that at one point when Martinelli, Smith Rowe once upon a time, and obviously Bukayo Saka were playing for Arsenal Football Club. Would love a surprise start for Heaven. I can't see it though, man. We are the Arsenal Royston, man. Arteta will move Kai back to midfield. We already see Gabriel Jesus back in training, so he could start Lee out front and bring Gabriel on. I hear that, but even if Kai's playing in midfield, I still need him off the ball when we're building out from the back. Probably Odegaard to drop into that kind of middle area in terms of build-up play, and Kai Havertz to still run up front. I do think we get hung up on formations and fixed 11s and stuff like that. In the game, Kai is going to be very deep, so I do think you need Kai. Again, it comes down to Gabriel Jesus. How fit is he? Is he fit enough to start? Trossard starting is an option, but then again, and it's not disrespectful to Kai Havertz, but we know if Trossard, if Trossard starts, then we ain't really got super subs per se. Either way, I must admit, you can't win games on paper. But we're not playing a prime Barca side. We're not playing the Invincibles. We're not playing the Chelsea Premier League side. Take nothing away from Spurs because, again, as much as I don't appraise them, you can't sleep on anyone. I'm not being funny, but whatever team we put out there, in particular in the middle of the park, they're more than good enough to get something against Spurs. Respectfully to Leicester, because I do think the way I look at Spurs, it's a bit like how the early days of Mikel Arteta looked. In that two halves, you're seeing two very different teams. They should have killed the game in the first half against Leicester. They should have killed the game in the second half against Newcastle. Two contrasting results, right? But look at Leicester's midfield. With the greatest of respect, football isn't won on paper. It doesn't really matter to a degree about your names, or you would see certain teams winning leagues. Do we have any less than them, regardless of what we put out there? So I still want to see a performance. The midfield, obviously, games are won and lost in the defensive third and the final third, but it's the middle of the park. And again, it's cliche. It is something I say, and a lot of you say all the time. The midfield is going to be the crucial area, man. So yeah, man, it'll be interesting to see what Mikel Arteta does. And to be brutally honest, I'm happy I'm not Mikel Arteta and having to make such decisions, man. It's kind of mad in that regard. Keep your thoughts coming, people. Again, don't forget to join me at 6 p.m. We will move to playback, and we'll obviously watch Isak and Gyökeres and all of those kind of things. Now, again, the week that's ahead of us, you've got Southampton, Man United. We'll do a watch along for that. Brighton, Ipswich, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Fulham, West Ham, Liverpool, Forest, City against Brentford. Hopefully, Brentford could do something. Probably not. Aston Villa against Everton, Bournemouth, Chelsea. Hopefully, Bournemouth win that. Of course, it goes without saying that you would rather Arsenal win against Spurs, and you've got Wolves, Newcastle. So there's some interesting games to come this week. And I'm sure whether you're at work, in the pub, in your family house, wherever you are, the talking points are going to be dominated by this North London derby. It's the biggest fixture of the weekend that will come upon us. So it'll be interesting. Of course, we need to win. It goes without saying. Again, it starts to get very dark, I believe. I might be exaggerating, but it gets very dark if, you drop points against Brighton. You're going to mess up against Spurs. You've got City where The last 3 games against City, we've been great. The top 6 last season record was great. I don't know if that's going to correlate. You've got the Champions League. It's a big test. Life is about to get real for us. And it's cliche. You'll probably hear me and you lot will say it a numerous amount of times. But is this the most important game of the season? We'll say that 70 times this season, people. But it probably is. Feel good factor. We're chasing 2 points now because we dropped them against Brighton. Again, what better way to endear yourself or show that we're turning a corner than to win a game like this, essentially, man. And I'm sure Spurs feel the same. We need to batter Spurs as usual. No, did he? Spurs might have to pay high line tax versus Arsenal. I mean, against the run of play, you look at the goals we kind of scored against them last season in this very fixture, especially, I'm sure Kai Havertz. Yeah, I'm not making this up. Kai Havertz pinged one over the top for Saka and he did his job. The one thing I would say, if we're going off last game, though, going back to that North London derby, it was a weird one. I think we deserved to win, but I think we lived dangerously. Like, if I'm honest with you, it's not that we didn't deserve it, but at the time, I felt we're 3 goals up and I don't really feel we was playing that well. So that might tell you Spurs' naiveties. And then we allowed them back into the game. Now, of course, there was a penalty. David Raya has been our guy and he's been perfect. But on that occasion, he tried to play a pass to Partey. It didn't work. Defensively, we need to clean up. You need to defend well. Let's make no mistake. They've got Son. They've got Maddison. They've got Kulusevski. They've got players that can cause us issues, really and truly. They're a Premier League side. And to be fair, I don't want to praise Postecoglou, but I do feel the building blocks are there and he does play good football. I think he's very naive defensively. I think he's obviously, I don't think he's not shown a willingness to improve defensively, but I don't think he respects the art of defending in the Premier League. I still think he's on this my way is the highway. So let's go and show him why you can't do that, man. But yeah, they play a high line against us, which they probably was. They're going to be in problems. It's down to us to take our chances. Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Sterling. It feels so weird to say Raheem Sterling's playing for us. Whoever gets them opportunities, take it. Now, for me, the midfield, you've got no Mikel Merino, you've got no Declan Rice. These are the games you want these lot available now. Declan Rice will be available after this. We hope Mikel Merino is fit sooner rather than later, but boy, we're going to have to get on with it, man. Injuries happen. We're just going to have to get on with it. On the topic of injuries, big up yourself, Boston, as well. On the topic of injuries, Riccardo Calafiori leaves Italy camp as the staff will take no risk after his injury against France, as Romano has said. Calafiori returned to London and will be assessed by Arsenal's medical staff. I think I speak for every Arsenal fan where we can't buy injuries. You know, Jesus is not 100% fit. Tomiyasu is not 100% fit. Calafiori, we've got fingers and everything crossed. Mikel Merino, obviously injuries happen. It's just unfortunate. It's happened in training, where, you know, we haven't been given an opportunity to see him in an Arsenal shirt. What have you said here? Late, Mr. Stark. Good afternoon, DG. Right back at you, man. You're coming at the right time, man. We're into the thick of it, man. So yeah, we've gone over the Calafiori stuff. I'm a bit excited there with the Calafiori news. Apparently, Calafiori is nursing a knock. However, it's not serious. Arsenal didn't want the player to take any risk, and he'll now return to London early to be assessed at the club. Which, again, until Mikel Arteta's press conference, we won't know. That does make me a bit upbeat if he's just nursing a knock and it's nothing serious. But what if it is? We don't know at this moment in time. But fingers and everything crossed, especially because I know we've focused the early bit of this live stream around central midfield, and you can't get away from that indirectly, the forward line as well. But the defense, man, one big thing for me with Timber and Calafiori and actually Mikel Merino and Declan Rice, who are not options for this game, is we dreamed of this. Like we've finally in the last 12 months, exaggeration, but maybe in the last 2-3 years now, including this year, got some great defensive options. And, you know, again, Aston Villa was a tough game. And with the greatest of respect to Zinchenko, because at this moment in time, you haven't put a foot wrong. You don't want to see Zinchenko against Spurs away, Aston Villa away, any game where it's kind of high stakes. So to see Calafiori and Timber, in which I can't speak for anyone, but in this first month for football, I do think us fans, we're being a bit harsh to our players. That being said, I think everybody at this football club can take their standards up to the next level. But if I had to break it down with players who I think are quote unquote pulling their weight, personally at this moment in time, I would say Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, David Raya, and then beyond that, I would say Timber. I think you've done okay considering you're coming off a big injury. I think you've done okay. And Calafiori hasn't really played significant minutes, but I think in his minutes, he's looked to impress. He's done something, and I think he's doing all right. So hopefully there's no more injuries, man, because again, I don't know how you lot feel. I do think we made some quality additions in the summer. Raya's move doesn't count, but it was made permanent. Mikel Merino, obviously him and Declan Rice was probably going to be our first choice midfield pairing. You've got Sterling, who, although is not a long-term option at this moment in time because he's on loan, can play across everywhere. And then You know what we've got, but I don't think I think we personally missed the trick with the depth. And I can recognize, you know, when people say, who do we get? It's tough to find players to improve, all of that kind of rhetoric, people. But at the end of the day, it's a results business. I feel we made some good additions, but it's another year where it feels we're a bit light in our pursuit of what I hope Premier League, the impossible dream. I would describe the Premier League for me as improbable, the Champions League as impossible, but I want to chase that and all the other competitions, man. So yeah, have we really improved our depth? Really and truly? Injuries can deplete anybody, you know, considering, and I know you want to look at City because that's where every team wants to aspire to be, but we all know they're in a unique situation. They've got all the money, they got Pep, etc., etc. Rodri and Foden haven't really played a significant part of this season, and then you've got us in issues, man. I don't know why I think coming up. Think it will be a 1-1 or narrow 1-0, but feel we needed maximum points at least until this game. And that's the issue. On the face of it, 7 points from 9, it's not the worst. It really isn't the worst. It's not perfect because 9 points from 9 would have, but 7 points, we can move with that. The issue is when you're fighting City, and we know we're going to drop points. We can't always win them all. Whatever way you look at it, yes, the ref against Brighton, we can't keep going on about it's done now. There is a wider discussion to have about the quality and consistency of refereeing. It is 1 point dropped. 2 points dropped or a point gained, dependent on how you look at it. Either way, we could have probably put balls in the back of the net. And you could argue a draw when fighting City for a title is like a loss, really. And all we need to do, I don't want to, you know, open up old wounds, but go back to last May. How many points did we finish behind City? And if we were to break it down, you look at the North London Derby, the first one last season for me. You look at us needing an hour to turn up against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. You look at the 2 games against Fulham. You look at the inability to put the ball in the back of the net against West Ham. You look at us not creating, let alone converting against Newcastle. You look at how the 2 Aston Villa games went. Had we have just turned one of these into victory, where would we have been? We can't really, you know, so it is what it is, man. Our players need to avoid this international matches as it's causing injuries to our players. Andrew, I must admit, yeah, I don't think there's any highest honor than representing your country for a player. If I was Mikel Arteta or connected to Arsenal or any club, I wouldn't tell my players you can't play for your country because I don't think that's your right. That being said, though, when you're seeing, forgive me if I'm wrong, Ollie Watkins, Cole Palmer, several players just pulling out of international break. You're looking, I mean, Declan Rice could get some minutes and tick over, and big up to him for scoring against Ireland. You're looking at Declan Rice and Saka, especially Saka. And I know Saka, if he was a kid, he wouldn't, you know, if he was a school kid, he would never truant. He's 100% attendance. Can you pull out of that? Can you say you've got an injury? Because if I'm sinister, you'd imagine there are some managers, not just in the Premier League, but in world football saying, yo, pull out. And to be fair, from a player perspective, it's a double-edged sword because you always want to represent your country and stuff. But we all know the fixture list is ridiculous for footballers and it's even more congested. And you've actually seen in this past week or so, David Raya, Kevin De Bruyne, all of them talking about it. The players can't change anything. The fat cats and the decision makers, it's only going to get worse. Player welfare, they don't really care. I'm going a bit left with this, but for me anyways, you look at the Euros, people, as a whole, there were some good games. There were some impressive teams, but you look at the last Euros as a whole, is there a correlation between the vast majority of these players who are internationally recognized and main players, you know, the Kevin, De Bruyne's and people of that ilk? Is there a correlation with the amount of games that these lot have had to play in the last 2 years? Forgive me if I'm wrong as well. Like the last, not this Euros, but it feels like there was a Euros and a World Cup back to back or in quick succession type of thing owing to C19. Is there a correlation between the amount of games they've played and us not really seeing, a quality football on the scope of it? Because the Euros weren't really, there were some great games, but collectively, I don't know how many games in total were in the Euros, all the group stage, etc. But there has to be something, man. DG, can you look at the Jesus news? We'll get into everything, man. Thank God White doesn't play for England because who knows, maybe he could have been injured too. Injuries can strike at any time, man. We just have to deal with it, man. What have you said here? Yes, I'll say we've improved our depth. Perspective is everything. The ceiling hasn't been raised, but the floor certainly has. Our bench is much stronger, in my opinion. When everybody's fit, I agree. But then when is everybody going to be fit? And I don't really feel we've improved. I feel we've improved the quality additions. I do think we've raised the floor in, but the squad, the depth, you know, apparently if you include pre-season and you assume that we get to the latter stages of everything we aspire to, we're looking at 70 odd games. Have we really improved that? Bearing in mind, we're now getting into a scenario where it's 2 games a week, 3 games in 10 days. The Sakas, the Odegaards, the Kai Havertzes, the Sakas, Salibas, these lot are going to have to play even more. Have we really improved our depth? When everybody's fit, some players are missing out on the bench. You know, Ethan might not even make the bench, which I hope doesn't happen. Kivio and Zinchenko might not, but have we really improved the depth? for me, it feels like a sideward step, really and truly, if I'm honest with you. And you're praying that Thomas Partey doesn't suffer anything. But yeah, and again, we hope Declan Rice and Co are back sooner rather than later. I actually think, I have no evidence of this, but I think Mikel Merino will be slightly ahead of schedule. But again, I don't know that, and that's more me hoping more than anything. Window is a 3 out of 10. Didn't do enough. Arteta out. Big up, deluded. 1 FA Cup in 5 years ain't enough. I hear it, you know. I hear it in your paragraph. I can't complain, you know. If we big up Mikel Arteta and we can say you're doing this and that and the third, if we're not delivering, then there's issues in that regards. And I think the most positive thing I can say about my football club is take nothing away from Man City. On the face of it, you lost to a City team that the year before last won the treble. Last year they did their thing. We all know what Pep Guardiola has done to this league. Everybody mocks other leagues for being a farmers league. When last did someone else win this? It was Liverpool, right? And even when you break down Arsenal, we haven't got over the line. But the Liverpool versus City kind of thing, Liverpool won a couple battles. They didn't win the war. City have dominated this. So there's no shame in losing to that. But for me, in my heart, I feel the season before the last one that just went, not this one, the year before, I feel we crumbled at the end. Last year, I think it's just the fine margins. We just didn't get over the line. I think before I can look at what City have done or haven't done, it's been in our hands, really. So I think that's something to build upon. I disagree with the window being a 3 out of 10. For me, it's a 5. I think, as somebody said, the floor's been risen. Better yet is the right term. I think the starting 11 when everyone's fit, you know, Mikel Merino, Calafiori, again, Sterling for a year. These are great options. And ultimately, indirectly, if those 3 players play, then there's going to be a stronger bench. But I don't feel I've come out of this window thinking, yeah, I feel a lot more bullish about our chances of winning stuff. I think another year's experience and players improving and the additions, but for me, it's the depth. And I know everybody would love 20-odd players, but Mikel Arteta all last season, as far back as March, sat there and said, we've got one of the smallest squads. Now, for a team that, give or take, has been heralded as the second best in the league now, I think we could do a lot better in that regards, man. As Boston said, smash the like button. Availability is your best ability, my fave quote of yours. I can't claim that, but I haven't seen anything truer in football. You Arteta out, people pack it in. Ain't you heard? New contract for Arteta. Josh will make the call. We are not important to what Josh calls. Should have got Gyökeres, Tony or Osimhen, but got Sterling. Don't rate him. Williams or Lookman should have got one of them. Right winger, Sane or Simmons. And I mean, I think we did all right in terms of sales. I think the additions that have come in have been good. I will never get at the club for missing your top targets because that does happen. But, you know, you didn't, I don't really care, but you didn't get Dan Bentley. You didn't get that Garcia lad. You didn't get Nico Williams or Sesko. Again, I'm being a bit harsh and paraphrasing, but either way, these players didn't arrive and you tried to go and get them. You didn't get them. Now, we found good contingency plans and that's what you have to do in the market. But yeah, I wouldn't say I feel a lot stronger. And even if I was to look at the Sterling thing now, Sterling is better than nothing and we hope he can do a thing, but that weren't what you wanted to do. You know, Edu came out and said he didn't plan for that, man. So it is jarring. We've got one of the smallest squads. What did our Edu do to make the squad smaller? I mean, he did let some players go, in which it is what it is. But if players don't want to be here, in Smith Rowe's case, he wanted to cut Fabio Vieira. I personally feel that's a difficult one because I think Fabio's pushed that one. In my opinion, he said, listen, I want to go. And if I'm being devil's advocate, it's not that Arteta don't rate you, but Arteta's not an idiot. He has to have sat there and said, you know what? He's versatile for me. I've played him off the right, can play as an 8 or a 10. He's a body. I know injuries can happen and all of these kind of things. I'm still going to let you go. I'm not really counting on you like that, in which you hope Fabio Vieira bullies the Portuguese league and every week he's playing great and we're on live streams and on social media saying, you know what, next season I'm happy to see it. I think unless he has a 10 out of 10 campaign for Porto, or let's be a bit fair to him and say at least a 7 or 8, I think you're just trying to put yourself into the shop window, man. So it is what it is. I think it's a mixed bag for Edu, man. I think it's a mixed bag for Edu. You got a lot of players that needed to cut, go, leave. You wanted Calafiori. The club wanted a left back. You brought that in. You got Mikel Merino, a person we've been tracking for a year. Allegedly, the Athletic said. You got that over the line. You pulled a rabbit out the hat with Sterling. But yeah, it just feels like we was going around the houses, if I'm honest with you, man. And it just feels like there's a lot of bullish chat. And ultimately, like, you're left wanting, not that you're, because fans were always going to want more, but you're quote unquote left wanting a bit more or a lot more in that regards, man. And again, Calafiori's returning to Arsenal, people. At this point, they're just going to reiterate the same things. Speaking of Sterling, when Sterling sparkled under Arteta at City, the Athletic had their own piece, but Arsenal have offered their piece. Last week saw two stars who teamed up in Manchester to great success reunite. And if Sterling and Mikel Arteta can recapture the magic from their original pairing, getting the band back together could be supersonic. I must admit, it'd be nice to win the league title with Sterling, Zinchenko, Jesus, and the rest of the lads. The pair first worked together at Man City at the start of the 2015-16 season until December 2019, when Mikel Arteta swapped his assistant manager role for the top job at the Emirates Stadium. It was a period where both their stars rose as Man City became the first team to earn 100 points in a campaign and won the EFL Cup before Mikel left halfway through a season that ended with a historic domestic treble. He's crazy, man. Key to that success was Sterling, whose talent was hitting new levels. Silverware followed Sterling during this time. He ended the 2018-19 campaign. Mikel began at City by being named. He ended the 2019 campaign. Mikel began at City by being named the Football Writers Player of the Year and PFA Young Player of the Year, as he produced the best football of his career under Mikel Arteta. And the numbers back that theory up. Thanks to our friends at Opta, we've analysed Sterling's numbers before, during, and since his time with Mikel, and there's no doubt in which period saw him at his most dynamic. I've done a video on that, so go and check that out on my channel, and big up to you lot who have already. Interestingly, the England internationals played roughly the same amount of games in each of those three stages of his career, but his time working with Mikel saw his output rise significantly. He recorded way more goals and assists during his golden period, leaving his minutes per goal involvement sitting at 1 every 117.6 minutes. Pre-Mikel Arteta, he had 126 appearances, with Arteta 116, post Arteta 137. And then you look at his starts, I mean, you lot can see it now. So pre is first, with is second, and post is third, or it's going to get long saying this. 100 starts, 105 starts, 110 starts, minutes 8,966, 9,287, 9,805, goals and assists 40, 79, and 67. So 79, Arteta pull a rabbit out the hat with this one. I know our fans, look at Arteta and is, if you've got any item that's damaged, Mikel Arteta seemed to have fixed it. Whatever you did with Kai Havertz, it needs to work with Sterling, essentially. Goals 24, 51, and 48. Assists 16, 28, and 19. Minutes / goal involvement 224.2, 117.6, and 146.3. So with Mikel Arteta, he's been, he's scored a lot more goals in less minutes, really and truly. Minutes per goals as well. With Mikel Arteta is also great because, pre-Mikel Arteta 373.6, with Arteta 182.1, and then obviously you've got 204.3. Minutes per assist, you've got 560.4, 331.7, and 516.1. Shots per 90, I mean, you got to be clinical, I guess, but shots per 90, 2.2, 2.7, and 2.5. You can also see the increases in his end product following Mikel's arrival in the summer of 2016. And I think his movement has been the best thing, because I think Sterling is a volume player, much like a lot. Like, the more chances you have, the more likely you're to score. In Sterling, all I want you to do, I want you to be good 1v1, but I just want to see you off the ball. I'll be brutally honest. I want to see you at the back post. Do you know how many tap-ins he scores? And I'm not trying to diss Sterling, but the bread and butter is that, you look at anybody, Bukayo Saka has scored great goals. Haaland the same, Salah the same. Anyone who's Cole Palmer, even for Chelsea last year, take nothing away from these players. They've all scored some fantastic goals. I'm sure if we go and watch their highlights, it's amazing, people. But the vast majority of the goals through the campaign, they're not glamorous. And again, while I would love Saka, for example, to score, 20, 30 yarders and all of these kind of things for agendas, all the goals count for same. You don't get double. So, yeah, and when you look at Sterling's heat map, very rarely does he score from outside the area. Of course, there's a number of occasions he's slapped in a free kick, he's scored some weldies, but that's what we need, people. So, yeah, you can also see the increase in his end product following Mikel's arrival in the summer of 2016 and led to him hitting a career-high 40 goal involvements by the end of 2018-19. And you can see it there, people. This is what we need from Sterling, if I'm brutally honest, man. 15-16, 47 games, 19 goal involvements, 8 assists and 11 goals. The following season after that, 47 games again, 25 goal involvements, 10 goals and 15 assists. So you could argue, with Arteta, his laying on for other teammates has also improved. 17-18, 46 games, 36 goal involvements, 23 goals and 13 assists. Then 18-19, which is probably the season you will look at and think, right, that's where Arteta worked his magic, in which even Pep Guardiola's own admission, 51 games. So you can see him growing in stature and importance, actually. 40 goal involvements broken down by 25 goals and 15 assists. During the time they worked together, only 4 players in England's top flight recorded more goal involvements than Raheem. And to show his goal scoring instance has followed throughout his career with and without Arteta, only the top 3 can boast more Premier League goals and assists since Raheem debuted in the competition for Liverpool back in March 2012. So there you can see it, people. And to be fair with you, if you're ahead of Mane, probably played significantly more games. But, if the only people in terms of goals ahead of you are Harry Kane, Aguero, Jamie Vardy and Mohamed Salah, you must be doing all right. And he's doing all right for someone you wouldn't describe as clinical. And since he actually made his debut, people, he's got more goals than Son. Again, he's been in the division longer. But again, only Aguero, Kane and Salah can talk to him in that regards. When he makes his Arsenal bow, Raheem will be one of only 6 players to have made an appearance in each of the last 14 Premier League seasons, which shows his durability. Coming the game at 16, 17, he's 29 now, alongside James Milner, Johnny Evans, Kyle Walker, Seamus Coleman and Danny Welbeck. But incredibly, Raheem is at least 4 years younger than any of those. Still aged only 29, he's in his prime and continued to put some decent figures in his 2 years at Chelsea, despite the Blues enduring a difficult time on and off the pitch with a huge turnover of players and managers. Only Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson netted more than Raheem's 14 league goals during his at Stamford Bridge. I think they mean during his time at Stamford Bridge, and totaled more goal involvements than his 21. So there is an element of Chelsea tax, I guess. Raheem's 93 shots were only bettered by Palmer. I mean, you can shoot as much as you like. Palmer put the ball in the back of the net a lot more, while he boasted 130 more touches in the box, which is great for Mikel Arteta. I think even if you look at Bukayo Saka stats at the Premier League now, I think he's up there. He might even be first for touches in the up box. Maybe Haaland's ahead of him. I definitely saw that a few days ago. So Raheem Sterling, that can transpire to you. And again, you know what Arteta is going to do, people. Boasted 130 more touches in the box than any other teammate as he continued to be a creative force in a struggling side. It all shows that Raheem remains one of the league's most potent attacking weapons. And if this season's stint with Mikel can rekindle anything like the numbers they achieved at Man City, some might say his loan capture could be an inspired piece of business. Big if. Hopefully that would be the case, man. What have you lot said? One love for the super chat, Dominic, man. I appreciate that. Haven't caught a live in a while. It's hard with the times in Australia, but your grind is inspiring. Appreciate the constant content. Appreciate you, man. And also one love for the super chat, man. It's always comments like that. I don't know how to react in a positive way. Means a lot, man. Means a lot. And sorry to my Aussies, man. All I can say is catch it on the replay when you can. Big up yourself. The Germany game made me realize Havertz is a serious baller, but he hit the bar twice. Could have had a hat trick, but that's the issue with our squad. The issue with Kai and that, I would say for me with Kai Havertz, and we're going to speak about Kai in a second, actually. I would say with Kai Havertz, whatever you have to say about him, I don't think anybody can ever say, even his Chelsea days, he's a bad footballer. Is he incredibly frustrating? Is he one that you poke fun at, which we all did when he was at Chelsea? 100%. But he's not a bad player. The problem is he's not clinical, and he's one of those that can play everywhere and do a job everywhere. But what is he? At the moment, I think he's a striker, and I mean, he's a Champions League winning striker. He scored the winner. I think the striker thing, the false nine thing is I think you've got the license to go into midfield. Obviously, he's got good height, and he does want to win duels and do all of that stuff, so he can do that up front. I would say confidence, man. The man is, in a nice way, a positive shadow of his former self. I personally think his fortunes changed around the Newcastle game last season. You remember when we went out to West Ham in the League Cup and we were crap? There was nothing to talk about. But I remember doing the reviews. Kai Havertz looked like the only one with it. But let's be honest, Kai, for a large part of his Arsenal career, the early days, the first half of last season, it was a charity case. Big up the club and the players, because Arteta always backed him. I'm sure internally they always backed him. They gave him the penalty against Bournemouth, but it was a charity case. Like, we're talking about a man working hard, me, myself included. That is a given. The second half of the season, I'd go as far as to say in the second half of the season, him and Trossard probably are 2 best players in what, ended last year, really. So I think Kai's confidence is back there. I think he is a striker. Now, strikers always miss chances. Kane during his time in the Premier League was up there for chances missed. Haaland will be up there. Salah will be up there. You're not going to win every gamble you take, really. You have to buy lottery tickets, I guess. The problem with Kai is he's definitely one of the more clinical players in our club at this moment in time. The numbers say it, and he's done his thing in terms of goals. I wouldn't describe him as clinical. Now, I'll never kill a player for not taking all your chances. But we're a team of averages. The more chances it's just for everyone really, but the more chances we create, the more likely we are to score. And I'm not getting at Kai, but Kai had chances. He scored in that game against Brighton. No, you did your thing, innit? Either half, you had chance. Saka as well, but you had chances. And that's the thing with Kai. He will score a goal, but you reckon he needs more. And to be fair, I'm happy with this because before, Kai will miss a chance. He's feeling sorry for himself. Now he still miss a chance, but he's going again. The bigger discussion is obviously nothing to do with Kai. It's for Arsenal Football Club. Do you get that number 9 that, I look at the game against, there's many, but for me, the West Ham game at the Emirates, when you break it down, an abnormal amount of shots on target and things, and it was a typical Premier League game in that you have to kill games before they kill you. So I think we're at the point now where we've got tools, but we need to add to it really and truly. Kai's an intelligent footballer. His movement's great. In my opinion, his movement's great. He's clearly intelligent. He's multifunctional. And all of them kind of things. I like Kai in the squad. For me, he's one of the first names on the team sheet right now. Love from South. Big up yourself, man. What's the point of him in the back post if Odegaard never does a risky pass? I hear that, but I mean, that's a bit harsh to say Odegaard never plays a risky pass. But Kai Havertz is running to the back post. Look at the Wolves goal. I'm pretty sure I'll bet anyone any money there's going to be a decent amount. Decent is subjective. I don't know how many. But there's going to be a decent amount of goals. Kai Havertz, Raheem Sterling, back post. Them lot are going to do their thing, in my opinion. Like he says here, Saka back post, cross, Sterling scores. I don't know if Sterling will put too many in with his head. People wanted backup for Saka. That's what Sterling is. Sterling ticks all the boxes and we don't overpay him. Solid addition. That's the thing. He just needs to do He just needs to do the numbers, man. He just needs to do the numbers, man. 1920 Sterling numbers were a madness. 31 goal assist all comps. Hope Arteta can resurrect his form. And I hear that as well. But then being devil's advocate, we keep saying if, when, how, hope. I don't really want that. There's never an assurance, but I want assurances. I know Saka is going to put up numbers. I think Kai can, but it's not 100%. I like the illusion of Sterling. He's got the bit between his teeth. He's down on his luck. Everyone's saying you're past it. As we know, Mikel Arteta's worked with him. He's an experienced player, I'm sure. While I agree with what Social Joins has said, he's coming in to kind of be backup. Sterling's not on that. I think Sterling understands that this ain't a rehab center. We're not just going to play you because you're down on your luck. He needs to come and take someone's shirt. And if I'm Sterling, I've won 3, 4, however many Premier Leagues, all them trophies, played in the game. I've been to a Champions League final, an area people that support Arsenal aspire to be. Respectfully, Trossard, give me that. Sterling, give me that. I'm taking someone's pace. And likewise, if you've got a shirt in the first team, don't let no one take it. That's what I'm kind of hoping with Sterling. I do think he needs a bit of time. I actually back him to score against Spurs, really. I hope so, man, because what better way? I do think, you can look at it and say damaged goods. We're bargain hunting in Chelsea's damaged goods. Obviously, we would have loved the Nico Williams, a more long-term replacement, but it is better than nothing. I'm not saying that's great rhetoric to have, but it is better than nothing. And we just hope Sterling could do a thing, man. Like, I hope he can. Speaking of Kai Havertz, Julian Nagelsmann has said that he can become world-class in many positions. Can he really, though? This world-class thing, you lot know me. Some of you lot get onto me a lot. I think this world-class thing is thrown around too often in football anyways. I would love to be talking about Kai Havertz in the same way I talk about him up front. I'd love for him to be doing the thing in midfield like that. I'd love to speak about him like I would speak about a Ballack, a Schweinsteiger, a Tony Kroos. Insert any legendary German player you have. I'm not sure. I think Kai Havertz's game is based on movement. He's obviously got good technique. He can link up play and all that. But in terms of playmaking from deep in that middle zone, he doesn't thrive there. He doesn't. His game is so much better off the ball. And you can see it when Kai goes in midfield, in the defensive and middle phase, bro, we need you. You're on. I don't know why, but people make out that Kai is a pussy, pardon my language. He's down for the cause. It's just playmaking, progressing from the defensive players to the midfield and so forth. He can't do that. So naturally, if we're gonna play Spurs, you're gonna see Odegaard probably have to drop into them realms there where Kai Havertz runs further forward. Sometimes you need to just accept players for what they are. If that's not a strength of Kai's, put him in situations where he can use his strengths. So yeah, man. But Nagelsmann, if it's not Mikel Arteta, he can sit there and say, you know what, nobody's backed Mr. Kai Havertz more than me, and such is life. Kai come into this game, the professional game, maybe like 18, 19. He was a wonder kid of sorts at Leipzig, Leverkusen. Apologies, went Chelsea. It's a bit weird that he's still only 25 and entering his prime. And for me, this is why I like the confidence from Kai. Nagelsmann has said Kai has made a big leap forward in the last 2 years. He has the potential to be world class in many positions. He runs an incredible amount and has become very clever. He sometimes lacks a bit of luck finishing luck, which I think is true, but he's never been known for being clinical, essentially. And I must admit, being devil's advocate, I even said it, just being devil's advocate here, don't kill me, people. When we talk about footballers, yeah, and we talk about working hard or running, the first thing that was mentioned, which it says here, I think that's a dangerous territory. He's also become co-captain with Germany. So again, he's rising in importance indirectly. Having to pull your weight, it's going to help us at club level, in which, again, he's gone from needing an arm around his shoulder in the first half of last season to being a go-to man. Like, for me, Kai, you was probably our best player in the second half of last season. I can't lie. Big up to you, what you did against Chelsea. Big up to you, definitely what you did against Spurs. Hopefully you can run it back. But yeah, and he's got a great relationship with Bukayo Saka at this moment. So that's great, man. That's great. He also spoke about Havertz and Musiala. I'm sure we'd all love them at the carpet, but they're not relevant for this. Rabiot has still not found the club. Would you lot take him, people? Allegedly, Spurs and Arsenal have been contacted by his reps. Now, naturally, I wouldn't get excited over that. Naturally, Rabiot's agents need to find their client a club and probably get themselves paid as well. It's a bit weird because I must admit, a 29-year-old, as it says there, been capped 48 times for France, played in a couple of European competitions for them, played for Paris Saint-Germain, Juventus. I didn't think he would be a free agent this long, but is it wage demands or is it the player's ability? I don't know. I don't think this is a thing for Arsenal. Again, I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's valued for money, and definitely we're on 220k per week. But to be fair, we've got a hole in the left channel in midfield, and you might be able to play against Spurs if we signed you, but you're not going to be a starter really, so they're not going to give you starting wages. Because again, not a pocket watching thing, but if he did come in on 220 grand per week, you're near the Sakas, the Salibas, probably Kai Havertz now, Declan Rice, those kind of players. Is that going to happen? And at 29, it'd be great for you, but yeah. If you take a wage cut, apologies, why not? He's also allegedly been offered to Newcastle United, Manchester United, Bayern Munich, and AC Milan, people. And he's also been linked with clubs in Turkey as well. As you lot would have known, in typical fashion, when we go into the summer window, they speak about how we're trying to do this, we're trying to buy that, we're trying to do this. We don't get them. And then it's next summer is going to be a madness. Rumors have said we're going to go for Sesko again, in which I don't doubt. Clearly, he's the only striker, to our knowledge, that the club indirectly tried to, via some sort of channel, tried to buy. All the Gyökeres and Osimhen rumors, we didn't actually try anything really and truly. So beyond fan talk and paper talk, it's not really going anywhere. But we've apparently eyeing up a move for Marcus Thuram in 2025, as well as Sesko. Now, I'm not really a fan of Thuram. I think he's a good player, but I wouldn't say no. It's a no from me. We all know Sesko elected to sign a new deal. And, the Athletic came out with a think piece as to why that didn't kind of happen. Check out a video I did on that. United and Arsenal, as Man United and Chelsea, have all been linked with Sesko, as you lot know, people. In fact, the North London club have reportedly initiated contact with Sesko's reps as they look to finalize an agreement that will see him leave Leipzig next summer. Not just with Sesko, but you would imagine all clubs are indirectly talking with targets for next year, hosting dinners with agents. You don't just wake up in the summer. Of course, there is moves, but you don't just wake up in the summer and people sign. There's a lot of communication channels. When it's come out, we've heard that around Declan Rice, when he's spoken about when he's actually met Mikel Arteta, Calafiori the other day as well, and there's many others, people. Now, shout out to Marcus Thuram, the France international, got 13 goals and 7 assists in 35 Serie A games during his debut campaign, and has scored 4 times in 3 league games this campaign. Still got 4 years left on his deal, but according to Court Offside, we're monitoring him. Sesko is still Arsenal's priority target. However, the Gunners are keeping a close eye on Thuram's situation and could pursue a move for the Frenchman if they're unable to reach an agreement with Sesko. Fair enough. Obviously, our manager after the Wolves game said he's got faith in Jesus Trossard and Kai Havertz, people. So we'll see what's going on there. Apparently, Juventus are ready to offer Thomas Partey a 3-year deal to fight off competition from Barcelona. He's expected to leave in 2025. His former club, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus are all keen on the 31-year-old, who's probably going to be playing in his last season. I covered this in another live stream or a video yesterday, 100%, but we have been linked with Tchouaméni. Don't know if you believe that, but fair enough. Again, Thomas Partey for a couple of seasons now has always been linked with the Saudi Pro League, and you'd imagine that would be an option if and when his contract at Arsenal runs down. Team news and ticks. I mean, if it didn't do that, we would see exactly what was said there. People, apologies, what's going on there? We're back. I've been told Alexander Isak will be very, very high on Arsenal's list. He's definitely someone I expect them to revisit next summer. If Newcastle don't get Europe, you'd imagine he'd be angling for a move. Says Isak, that very shirt number is free, you know. It's free, you know. Bring Gomares with you. Mikel Merino, Odegaard, start the communication channels from now. But on a serious note, where Isak's concerned, he's one of those. Newcastle probably going to offer him improved terms. He's one of those. It's a money thing. Like, you put the money down, you can have the player. He could kick up a fuss and say, I want to leave Newcastle. We could have a willingness to sign him, but put down the money. Like, we'd all love him at the carpet, man. Like, I'd go as far as to say I'd rather him over Gyökeres and Osimhen, and I actually like the look of the Gyökeres people a lot. I think Gyökeres is a good player. Osimhen's obviously at Galatasaray on loan. It looks very peculiar. Isak would be lit. He would follow what we've kind of been doing with signing established Premier League players as well. Team News and Ticks on Osimhen has said, hey, stop this annoying stuff. We're going to have to just hold it up. I don't know why it's doing this, people. I don't know why Elon Musk's app is acting. Arsenal's interest in Victor Osimhen waned at the beginning of the year due to concerns over his attitude and high wage demands. Osimhen's public spat with the Nigerian national team manager on Instagram also put pay to any interest from the club. And ain't he done that about Napoli? So, as we kind of seen with Ivan Toney, to a degree, your ability becomes irrelevant if you're a bit like that. It's a bit of a myth. This doesn't mean he's a bad person, but yeah, you get where we're going with that. It's probably going to do the same. It doesn't help when you've got a million tabs, right, people? But we're going to get through this. Smash the like button if you haven't. I will pre your comments in a sec. Arsenal inquired about Anthony Gordon late in the summer transfer window, but Newcastle didn't want to lose the player, nor did they have the financial need many clubs had expected from them. Gordon would have been interested in a potential move, and Liverpool tried to get him early doors. I'm having Gordon. I wouldn't want to give you the number 10. I kind of want Ethan to have a standout season, and Ethan, you take the number 10. Smith Rowe, Haaland left it, you picked that up, but I'm having Gordon and Isak. It's a dream. I'm having Anthony Gordon, Isak, and Gomares, but it's not fee for a football manager, as you lot know, man. Gordon would be good, very good for us. You would have also seen as well, people. Apparently, Arsenal explored deals for both Rafinha and Onana this summer. However, both wanted to be guaranteed starters, something Arsenal could not offer. I don't know if we went for someone like Onana, regardless of the Mikel Merino thing, or if it was a thing we're looking at both. I don't know. Fair enough if you want to be guaranteed starters. And to be fair, Rafinha, someone I was really hot on at Leeds, Barcelona debut season, you was looking a bit, you're back to your best, and you're actually not necessarily playing off the right, but guaranteed starter, I'm not sure. You know, again, I don't know if you want to move to the left-hand side. You're not starting ahead of Bukayo Saka. You're not a striker, so that's the Kais and the Jesuses and the Trossards in there. It's probably the left-hand side. Onana would have been good in the squad, definitely going into the game on Sunday. But I've always said, I think if you look at our squad from last season, right, like, just assume we bought nobody and we sold nobody. Like, the squad we had last year was the squad we've got, right? Personally, I know it's not this easy, but I would have loved two central midfielders. I would have loved a striker and a winger. Would have actually, and I support the Calafiori, the left back stuff coming in, and we all knew we'd need to find a keeper of sorts owing to Aaron Ramsdale's departure, which we've obviously seen him go to Southampton. But I did think it would be naive. I thought we'd only see two centre mids arrive if you would have got Partey out the door, because Jorginho was going to stay. It would have been naive for me to expect Jorginho, Partey, Declan Rice, Mikel Merino, just to say Onana right now, and also Kai Havertz at the time, Fabio Vieira at the time, Smith Rowe, where they've all gone, that can all play there. I'm not saying they're their options. That's just the reality. I do think the midfield needs a revamp, man. Mikel Merino is a step in the right direction. Obviously, Declan Rice a big dog. We've got Jorginho and Partey for now, but we need two long-term options in addition to them, so it's like a 4. So yeah, that's what that is saying, people. Team News and Tick said a week before. Oh wow, come on, X. What are you doing? Anywho, a week before the window ended, as far as I had heard, Arsenal hadn't had a no from Nico Williams. He never said no, but his total package demands, wages, bonuses were going up as the window ended. Maybe that was a way of saying no without saying no. For me, it feels like we were a bit like when we tried to buy Rafinha from Leeds, where the third option, like, for me, probably wanted to go to Barcelona. enticed by getting the number 10 at Bilbao and completing one more year and waiting for Barca, and then he might have interested us. What I would say is, from what if Nico Williams continues where he's left off, then boy, you've the wages, the bonuses, you got to pay the going rate, man, for these kind of star boys. Really, we've been linked with Mbuemo as well, people, as you lot would have known as well. I've done a video on that. Big up to you lot who looked at that across the weekend. I mean, when it loads, we'll actually see. Arsenal's data team were really, really high on Mbuemo, and it was a deal that the club was strongly considering. However, a move was always unlikely this summer. Declan Rice admitted he needed a big performance for England after a rusty start with Arsenal. It's not just me who's been saying this, but a lot of us could see the man, like everybody, he's not fully fit. And I've got a video coming out, I believe 7-8 p.m. on Declan Rice. So yeah, store that mentally, people. Today, I feel like I took a real step. I was feeling back to myself. This is obviously after the Ireland game. Feeling springy, feeling like I can run around the pitch, feeling more powerful. I mean, Morgan Rogers, boy, told you a new one, really, along with your midfield colleagues against Villa. I feel like I took another step, which is obviously going to help me at Arsenal. I felt really good, and I knew I needed a big performance because so far this season, obviously, I've got sent off last game, which you shouldn't have, really. I know rules are rules, nerds. And the first 2 games, I was a little bit rusty. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. And I don't know why the comments ain't there, but well, yeah, he said he's kind of been doing pre-season with Arsenal as well. To be honest, I've not been feeling 100% fit so far. Kind of been doing my pre-season in the Premier League. So hopefully he can get back up to speed with things, people. Barcelona are still interested in signing Nico Williams for next summer. Chelsea inquired this summer, but did not move due to salary demands. Arsenal also inquired, but didn't make a move. So maybe we didn't get enough positive reception. Maybe financially, it just didn't make sense. And I'd love to know, what's you lot's first choice front three? Maybe let's just say for the Spurs game, but moving forward, because obviously, you know, Kai Havertz isn't in the graphic, but there's that. But there could be a reality of Trossard, Saka and Sterling, or Martinelli, Sterling and Saka. I think Kai Havertz, if he isn't going to be moved into midfield for the Spurs game, like any front three you're thinking of has to include Kai Havertz, Saka, and then it's between, you know, the Sterlings, the Martinellis, the Trossards. He's not in the graphic, but even a Gabriel Jesus as well, folks. So it's a bit of a peculiar situation. We've gone over Calafiori. I was so excited to talk about Calafiori. We've gone over what the Juventus are planning for Thomas Partey. Allegedly, people, ITKs are saying Gabriel Jesus is expected to be fit for the upcoming North London derby. Tomiyasu has also made excellent progress in his recovery program. But for how long are you lot going to stay fit? Allegedly, Team News and Tick said the mystery German player. Oh, that was what a point in the summer that was. The mystery German was Leroy Sané. Arsenal spoke with his agent. However, Bayern blocked the move due to not securing their targets like Xavi Simons, folks. So there's that. 2 English clubs and 2 Italian clubs have made formal offers to Rabiot. Barcelona also interested, but they can't afford him, says reports. Arsenal really like Eze. Palace wanted 60 million in one payment. That was never going to happen this window, which discouraged any interest in the just concluded window. However, Palace are said to be willing to listen to offers next summer and be willing to accept a structured payment this time. Begin the talks with his agents. Arsenal had a genuine interest in Bruno Guimaraes. His agent was busy telling people he could be gotten for below his release clause. Arsenal felt they could get him for 70 to 80 million, but no one foresaw Newcastle finding a way around their PSR problems like they did. Really? Fair enough. Arsenal definitely had discussions with Sané. He was the mystery German, but yeah, Bayern didn't buy it, didn't let it go, owing to them not getting their targets. Arsenal to target Eze. If all goes to plan, says Con Marble Hills, club feel another good season maturing in the EPL at 26 years of age will make him a valuable member of the squad. Looked into the fabric of the deal this year, but deemed they'd like him to play another year at Palace. Maybe we just couldn't afford him, man. Rob Holding, it looks like it's done at Crystal Palace. If I'm honest with you, speaking of Crystal Palace, he's removed all of the Crystal Palace posts and unfollowed the club following his move last summer. Obviously, their manager has said he's training alone. What the hell did Rob Holding do over there, people? I'm not too sure. Again, Jorginho is also drawing interest from clubs in Turkey. Clearly, we're not going to let him go, so we don't need to waste time on that. We'd be very crazy to let him go. If we had the depth, then fair enough. Again, Romano has spoken about this, but yeah, we all know we're not going to get Tchouaméni. And, you know, players don't leave Real Madrid unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo. Real Madrid leave players. If there's another Ozil or Di Maria situation or something of that ilk, or for United, Casemiro, or to be fair, Di Maria didn't work, then maybe, but Tchouaméni's got no reason to leave by Real Madrid, you know. So yeah, you would have seen Timber and Weghorst had a little clash in training, and Weghorst left training early. That's what my defender's doing in training. Can't wait to see you in the North London derby, man. So yeah, we've been over the Mbuemo stuff. William Saliba apparently is drawing interest from Real Madrid, which they're just doing their job. Good players are going to be wanted by everybody. Arsenal have also been linked with Alphonso Davies among several other clubs. I think we all know that is not happening. We've gone over that already. When this loads, we'll see exactly what the hell this is. Romano has spoken about Fabio Vieira. Yeah, there are many questions on this one because we had many rumours on Fabio Vieira. After he joined Porto on loan from Arsenal, many people were starting saying, okay, it's over for Fabio at Arsenal. What I'm told is this is not the case. I mean, he's still got a number of years on his deal, so it can't be the case, really. Kind of stuck with him. Arsenal only wanted to do a straight loan with no buy option included because they want to assess the situation of Fabio Vieira again in 1 year. They told internally that Fabio really needed to play on a consistent basis every single weekend to feel the confidence and to feel as an important player for the new club and coach. He was an important player at Arsenal, but it was very difficult to play with the top players they have at the club, so he can't have been that important. So they believe that the loan to Porto is the perfect solution to see the level of Fabio Vieira now after being in the Premier League for a few years. Fair enough. We hope he can do his thing, man. The man himself said, people, the idea of returning came from me. So he pushed it. There was probably tentative interest and he probably pushed it in that regards. I love this club. I'm going to give everything on the pitch. I'm happy. Obviously, it's my home. I'm looking forward to being at the stadium, playing in front of these fans and doing the best I can do for this club this season. He said it was a chance that above all came to me because it was something I already wanted to play. I had a difficult time in England, an operation. And at this moment, I felt that Porto was a good opportunity to continue growing and developing. I felt that this was the right thing to do this season. And I hope you play to the standard where every week we're saying, why did it reactionary, but why did he go out on loan? I hope you return with a Portugal cap, double figures for goals and assists, and we're talking about how you could be flirted into the team next season, really, and it's like a new signing. Fair enough. He then said, oh, sorry, this is Raheem Sterling, so we'll air that, people. We've defo covered that. Gyökeres, how could you not want Gyökeres, man? 15 goal contributions for club and country this season, 10 goals and 5 assists. It's crazy, isn't it? Obviously, we can't get him now, but it's crazy. Imagine we had that. Gyökeres has been speaking as well about his future. He said, apparently set for a pay rise. No, this ain't it. I'm sure I had an article where he spoke on his future, or maybe I haven't, but nonetheless, let's move on. Dan Bentley, who was our Wolves goalkeeping target, apparently is set to sign a new extension at Wolves. Obviously, he would have been our third choice. We didn't get him. Jonathan David confirms talks amid Man United, Chelsea, and Arsenal interest. Forgot he was still kicking ball, man, really and truly. For what it's worth, apparently said, I'm open to everything. Obviously, the Premier League is regarded as one of the best leagues in the world. Remember when we was close to getting him, allegedly? And for me, it's not the Premier League or bust. I'm open to anything, and every league has its challenges. I'm sure he's a good player, but I'm not convinced, really. Strikers do peak late, though, if I'm honest with you. We've already gone over the Jorginho thing. We don't need to worry ourselves. Big up Nuno Tavares. He's doing quite well at Lazio. Apparently, he's drawn praise from, the decision makers that be over there. He said, whoever it is, I think this is his man, the owner actually raved about the defender's potential. You wait. Some fans did the same. We have built a new team with potential suited to today's football. Be patient. Ours is a real and strong group. We have many players called up by the national team. I'm convinced that all the arrivals are also of a high level. Let's skip to where he said, Tavares, you always have to give the players time to settle. I mean, if you see the defending for some of them, he's already in Italy. You see why he's gone. Tavares is the same. Have you seen what a player he is? And now you also see Samuel Gigot. Not sure, but big up Tavares. Apparently there's an obligation if certain conditions are met of 7 to 8 million, and we hope those conditions are met, people, in that regard. What have we got here? Apparently Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich are all monitoring William Saliba. I mean, it's going to happen. Big players are always going to be linked with big clubs, so it is what it is. Rob Holding's been alienated from training. Boy, Rob Holding, mate. What's going on there, man? Jorginho stuff again. What's this? Mika Beref obviously left during the summer and he will be playing in the Champions League. He said, when you're at Arsenal, you're in your Arsenal bubble and you come out of it and you learn how hard it is in real football world as a professional footballer. When you're 18, 19, you only wanted to be at Arsenal and you had to be in the first team. And if you weren't, you'd be a failure. As you get older, you realize how difficult it is to get into the first team at Arsenal. You think about what you could do next. And my next step was to go to Stuttgart. It's very exciting to be playing Champions League football. So I'm not that disappointed to be leaving Arsenal. Of course, it's a sad feeling when you leave one of the biggest clubs in the world. However, it's best for my career. Fair enough, man. He said, everyone hopes for more, and it would have been great to make my debut and some opportunities in the first team. It just didn't work out. I didn't want to be there anymore and feel sorry for myself. It was the perfect time in my career to take the next step. Big up yourself, because you won a trophy there and you're doing your thing. In relation to Osimhen for next year, people, apparently Arsenal will not entertain attempting to lure Osimhen to the Emirates Stadium. Again, we've kind of gone over this, and we're definitely not going to try and get him mid-season. So it feels like the Osimhen case study is done. We've gone over what my man has had to say there. There's the Gyökeres stuff. They Sporting wanted most of the starting players to stay and held us tight. I enjoy Sporting very much, so for me it was no problem to stay. Of course, you want to play at the highest level. He said it in brackets his 85 million pound release clause was probably a bit too high because nothing came of it. Of course, it's a lot of money, but we'll see what happens next window. Nothing happened, and it feels like I had a pretty good season. So yes, that's probably why there was simply no move. But that's what Sporting thinks I'm worth. Then you have to respect that. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, the striker talk is incredibly irrelevant for now, people, because it's not going to go anywhere. Arsenal have been linked with a young player, not seen him play. We'll do my homework after this, but Dylan Waterett, a United form, sees Arsenal and Nottingham Forest lead scout in transfer rabble. I mean, at 17 years of age, right up our street, Arsenal and Forest are among the clubs in England/Premier League who sent scouts to watch him last weekend. Apparently, the 17-year-old has significant potential and he's a fullback. Fair enough. Find the best players where you can. He made his debut in 2016, people. At 16, sorry, in December of 2022. And he's being monitored by a number of Scottish clubs. I mean, if he's got ability, why not? You know, if you reach the first team, great. But if you bring him in for a couple thousand and sell him for a couple mil, you can't go wrong making a profit. In terms of other content, no doubt Declan Rice is going to be, you know, and is already at this moment, someone that's being spoken about. I did a video on him, people. Tomorrow, shout out Alex, different not. Make sure you're following him. We will be live at 9:30 a.m., people. So make sure your notification bells are on. And again, at 6 p.m., I'll be with you lot on playback. What do you mean? You've reload the room, man. Don't do that. I'll put the link in the chat anyways, people. But yeah, do be sure to join me over here. Don't flop me. Oh, I mean, no clue why my top's off there, but fair enough. So yeah, people, it's pinned to the chat anyways. But yeah, make sure you're there for that one, innit? Playback allows us to have a lot of fun, really. We can watch a lot of highlights. We can react to stuff that you can't do on YouTube, essentially, or there's copyright issues. What did you lot say in the comments, man? Because I was airing it. Havertz, Saka, Sterling, Trossard, and Jesus power subs. They better treat Holding well. He's better than Gadavara right now. He's not better than nothing, really. Academy players probably gonna get the call up before him. Who's leading the line in the North London derby? Well, I personally reckon Kai Havertz is going to play in midfield. So we know, F it. Ask me again in at the weekend. But right now, if I had to name my 11, Raya, White, Saliba and Gabriel, Timber, Martin Odegaard, Kai Havertz, Thomas Partey in midfield. That is Bukayo Saka on the right. Too many changes. Do you start Jesus and Sterling? Are they both fit? Fuck it. Pardon my French. Gabriel Jesus, Raheem Sterling. A part of me wants Trossard to start. A part of me wants to start Martinelli. But you know what, City boys, go do your thing. But you asked me on Friday, I'll probably change my mind. Nico not leaving Spain, and we ain't paying Nico them wages. Sterling, Trossard, and Saka. Martinelli, Trossard, Saka for Spurs. I hear it. Team News and Ticks is a gaslighter club full of fake PR merchants. Listen, big up everyone, but yeah, man, no disrespect from me. Now we're talking Isak Eze. Would love him, but cha-ching, bro, cha-ching. If you're not putting down the bread, forget about it. Deluded. Does Saka's form not picking up since the second half of last season worries? Since the half of last season? I mean, at this moment in time, he's doing the job for us, really and truly, and still did his thing towards the end of last season, but naturally it's 38 games. Like, I'm not being funny, but like Saka's picked up the slack for this club. So there's some times where he's gonna carry us, we're gonna need to carry him. There's been many Premier League winning sides that certain players have slacked off after certain points this season. So we need the whole squad. I'll quote Arteta: "We need to embrace him with open arms, give him a home. Kai will get better if everyone around him believes in him." But the most important thing is you need to believe in yourself, in which I think Kai has now. But you're bang on the money. DG, from the Arsenal players, pick the best abilities to have from these choices. Dribbling, finishing, defensive IQ, and passing weight. DG, from the Arsenal players, pick the best abilities to have from these choices. What do you mean from the Arsenal players, though? Because obviously, if you're a defender, you there's no point being good at finishing if you ain't got a defensive IQ. I'm not sure what you mean there, broski. DG, from the Arsenal players, pick the best abilities to have from these choices. Are you meaning picking the best players based on what you said? Dribbling in this Arsenal team, dribbling. Gabriel Jesus. Finishing. Bukayo Saka, you've done it the longest for all of these players, if I'm honest. Defensive IQ. Saliba. No, defensive IQ. Declan Rice, actually. Declan Rice in the middle of the park. But you could say Saliba. But then I know he does some crazy things of late. But Gabriel, you know, we all saw the little VAR thing he did against United. But I'll say Declan Rice. Passing, easy. Martin Odegaard, if I'm honest with you. Although Jorginho would have something to say with that. And maybe just at passing, Zinni could be there. Havertz can play well in striker, in left wing, in left centre mid, in left wing back also, but world class is too much. I'd get Gyökeres in Jan. Deluded, you going to the North London Derby? I'm not. And what's your prediction for the Derby without Rice? I can see a loss or a Spurs win. I mean, if we lose, they do win, but I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal, man. 2-1, in fact. It will probably be a nervy one, if I'm honest. Gyökeres is putting up some mad numbers, get him in January. Naturally, mid-season, Sporting are going to be even less open to negotiating a price tag for us. That's going to make it make sense, really. And as you know, I wouldn't say we wouldn't overpay for players, because at the time you could argue Kai Havertz. In general, obviously, I feel Declan Rice 100 million is the going rate in what football is nowadays. But you could argue with that. But I don't personally think Arsenal appeared that convinced in Gyökeres. Not to say they think he's a bad player, to really go for him and break the bank. And even when you look at Gyökeres, it only looked like with Sesko that there was some tangible sort of interest in him, really and truly. Osimhen and Gyökeres, it was more for me, us fans that wanted a striker, or the occasional paper talks. It didn't feel like there was legs. If you realise Raya has that long ball to Kai all day long and he wins the first ball, but there's no one around him for the flick on, it pees me off. They're going to have to get around him. This might be controversial, but I think Havertz has a better conversion rate than Osimhen last season. Probably does, really, because Osimhen and Napoli struggled, and obviously Arsenal did quite well. So he probably does, if I'm honest. This is interesting stats. He could be top 10. We're going to need Sterling to do that. Not going to lie, I'd like Sterling to start, then Trossard come in for him, and Martinelli come in for Saka would blaze the channels. But hey, you don't want to defend against that. City has a much better squad than us. Arteta improves us significantly. Don't shoot the messenger, but I'd rather have Martinelli left wing and Raheem right wing against Spurs, because it's pace and back post tappings. I hear you. But there's no way Bukayo can't start. We're not in a realm of a football club where we can go into a big game and contemplate not starting Bukayo Saka unless he's injured, which a couple of occasions we had to do last year. Sterling needs to be dribbling and taking it to people. I mean, you want to see your wingers doing that. You want to see your wingers doing that, and hopefully we can do such, man. So it's a techie one. It really is a techie one. And on one hand, it feels like there's, you know, if I was Arteta, I would have spent the international period probably thinking about what I'm going to do in the middle of the park. Apart from probably Bukayo Saka, I might be a bit excited about what I want to do in the up front, because as you said, you got Trossard, you got Martinelli, you got Sterling. If Jesus is back, I don't think Jesus is going to start. There's no way you're out for this long and then you were going to start you and Sterling. I think it's one of them. So you could argue Sterling on the bench, Gabriel Jesus starts, or you could argue Saka, Trossard and Martinelli. Obviously, Trossard through the middle. I'm not sure, man. If I'm honest. Napoli wouldn't mind selling Osimhen right now. Probably not. He's in Turkey. I'd start Martinelli on the left with Jorginho left centre mid to hit that pass over the high line. But it's just going back defensively. Saliba defensive IQ. Have you seen that Duranville? It's decent, really, but I think we need to wait and see. Yeah, for example, dribbling Jesus, finishing. Oh, crap. Yeah, finishing Trossard. Really? Yeah, you're right. Finishing Trossard. Defensive IQ. See, even me, I forgot about Tomiyasu. I'd give it to Declan Rice because he's made a career off that. I think Saliba's up there. It'd be a tie between Declan Rice, Saliba. And again, you said Tomiyasu, that's a great shout. When it comes to 1v1 defending, probably too early, but can't talk about defending and not throw Italians in there. I want to see Calafiori be in there, man. Why does it seem only to be, I think you mean to us, only be us, where our best players must be pulled away from the club? Cannot believe Calafiori is injured. It's football, man. Footballers getting injured is like chefs cutting their fingers. It's part and parcel of the game, man. It's part and parcel of the game. But with that being said, though, people, I'm just aware that we're going to be live again at 6 p.m. We will be on playback. I have dropped the link. So, yeah, big up yourselves. If there's any significant talking points, you know, there's live streams and watch-alongs from myself. Big up to you lot for enjoying the discussion, whether you've, you know, participated in the comments, you've just been a silent viewer. Big up to you lot who have liked and subscribed. So, yeah, man. It's North London Derby week. Again, tomorrow I'll be live with Alex. But for now, you lot stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.
always